Welcome to Showboys, a podcast that delves into the world of film and TV. Hosts Nick and Mike take their water cooler talk from the office to the web as they discuss their favorite movies, shows, and all other content in between. In this week's episode, the boys are banished to Smeerensburg, where they uncover the unique telling of the Santa Claus origin story. So, what's Klaus? Hello, and welcome to another extremely exciting and enthralling episode of Showboys. I am Mike, one of your hosts, and as always, joined by my good friend Nick. How you doing tonight, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Michael?
Pretty good. Feeling, in the Christmas spirit. Just got done watching a fun, I guess you could call it fun, kind of a little dark, but nevertheless touching Christmas movie that we're going to be discussing tonight. Yeah, I take it you're doing well, as you just said. Anything crazy happen today?
Did anything crazy happen today? No, it's pretty normal day. Nothing out of the norm, nothing exciting, just the usual. Plotting the future Stonk Boys series.
Nice. Yes, that would be very nice. That's good. Yeah, my day was pretty much your typical run-of-the-mill Thursday. So, yeah, it's
Did you run to the mill?
I actually did not. I didn't even leave my house today. So the only running was up and down the stairs.
I know. You ran out of coffee and you didn't even leave the house to get coffee.
I know. It sucked. It was awful. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty terrible.
How'd you make it through the day? Did you make it through the day? Did you take a nap at like 3 o'clock nap?
I took a nap at noon, and that came back to bite me in the butt because I ran out of coffee, couldn't go get coffee because Thursdays are pretty busy at the Courtney household. My wife had to take our oldest to school, and then right after that take our youngest to gymnastics, and during that time frame we were also having a countertop installed on a kitchen island. So I couldn't leave the house. So Becca was kind enough to stop by Sheetz on her way home and get me a watermelon Red Bull, which I do not really recommend. Watermelon Red Bull is not that great. I asked for our usual pear, because we're big pear boys here.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't find it. So
she didn't look hard enough.
That's what I was saying, but she was being kind. I didn't want to be rude over the phone, so I was just grab whatever. She picked watermelon. The can was nice. I mean, it was very Christmassy. It was all red and green, but it didn't taste very good. So, but took a nap at noon. Woke up with a raging headache, so I took some Excedrin, slammed the Red Bull, and here we are.
You must have been having a caffeine withdrawal there.
Yes, big time.
Never fun.
Anyways, I digress. It is podcast time, which is my favorite night of the week. Yeah, well, I mean, actually, these days it's favorite nights of the week. But yeah, before we get into our episode, just want to remind everyone to check out our Linktree page. It is a nice, handy page that is the home to all of our links for all of our social medias and all of the podcasting platforms that our episodes are available on. So, visit that page, bookmark it. It's linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. It is linked in our Instagram bio. It is linked as our website on our Facebook page. And if you can't find either of those, go to linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. Now we got that out of the way. So we both watched the Netflix original Klaus movie tonight, and we wanted to talk about it.
The big Klaus Baus.
Yeah, I know we're a little late to the party. The movie came out actually last Christmas, but we weren't a podcast last Christmas, so deal with it. We're going to talk about it because me and my kids watched it like a week ago, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And we were kind of searching for a topic for tonight's episode, and it's like, hey, why don't we talk about this movie? It was pretty good, so rewatched it again tonight, and I think you watched it for the first time tonight.
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah. What'd you think about it?
I liked it. It was good. It had a lot of good story undertones to it. They hit all the kind of Christmas, Santa Claus themes. Like, they worked everything really into it, which I thought was cool, and they did it in unique ways. A couple of them I didn't really see coming, but once they happened, I was like, oh, nice setup. Yeah. And then, I like different animations in general, and it had a good animation to it. And I like some of the transition effects they did between scenes. So there's a lot of little details that I did enjoy per usual.
Yeah. So kind of, just a brief description of the movie before we really get into it. It's an animated Netflix original, and I think it was Netflix, their first animated original movie, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it was directed by Sergio Pablos, who was a part of Despicable Me, and he also was involved in movies like A Goofy Movie, Hercules, Tarzan, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Aladdin. So he kind of knows his way around the animated kids movie genre. But
interesting you say Goofy. He did the Goofy movie?
Yes. Now, to what extent, I'm not 100%, in the know of. I don't know what his involvement in those movies were exactly. I could look it up real quick, but I'm not going to while I'm talking. I'll do it as soon as I'm done. But yeah, he was involved in all of those, classics from the 90s, but yeah, basically it's like the Santa Claus origin story, but like you said, kind of told in a really different and unique way. But yeah, so what were kind of, your initial thoughts on how they were able to approach that Santa origin story?
Well, the first thing that kind of jumped out at me was when they kind of did the intro to our main character here, is it Jesper with an E, I believe. He's the postman.
Yeah, Jesper. Yep.
And his silhouette before they actually bring him into the light was just screaming to me a Goofy movie with just the way it looked. He looked a lot like Goofy's son in that movie. So I thought that was interesting. But luckily they got away from that. I was worried that it was going to be too much in that sphere of the animation, but it definitely kind of owned its own animation style. And like you said, it was particularly dark, at least to start with. The theme there of that town. But
Yeah, for sure.
now, do you think that was England, like really northern England, or because they never really say, and they don't have British accents per se, but you know, he is part of the Royal Postal Service, and they
Yeah,
seem to be on
and
an island, and they stretch north, and it got that's what it seemed to me.
well, and like they call him Klaus, right? So I feel like that's some sort of context clue. And the the little girl that shows up like about halfway through the movie in the red and blue with the like
Mm-hmm.
hat or whatever, uh, kind of makes me think of maybe like Swedish or Finnish or something
Mm-hmm.
with her language because she spoke a different language than the people of what's the town called, Smeerensburg or something.
Yeah, Smeerensburg.
Yeah, what a town. So yeah, I think that's a fair kind of guess of the location of the movie. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit more of a darker approach to the origins of Santa, but we're not talking like dark like a Nightmare Before Christmas or uh like scary ish horror genre dark. We're just talking like a not a cheery way of telling the story, if that makes any sense. That does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think because it's set largely, I would say 95% of the movie is set in like very, practicality. They're in this
Mm-hmm.
dreary town far, far in the north on this island. Everyone kind of sucks there. There's these two feuding families, and we have a postman that is the main, he's the protagonist here. He's the driver of the story, and he has his reasoning for what he's doing, and then he kind of stumbles into this Christmas tale, if you will, and was a part of making it come alive. So definitely
Yeah.
different.
Jesper was a pretty cool character, and uh, I kind of want to credit most of that to the voice actor Jason Schwartzman, who, if you're not like, if that name, you know, doesn't
Sounds
ring a
familiar.
bell, he was Gideon Graves in Scott Pilgrim,
Oh,
if you
okay.
can recall that. But he's been in, a lot of things. Uh, but he's just, a funny guy, and I really enjoy his voice, as weird as that sounds. So as soon as the first time my kids had this on, I was like, "Oh, Jason Schwartzman's in this movie. That's awesome." But yeah, Jesper kind of sucks though. Like as a person in the beginning of this movie, he's just like your typical like silver spoon, son of
Self-centered,
yes,
self-serving.
exactly, son of like the head of the Royal Postal Service. So like, he doesn't have to do anything. He's born into like a rich family and is super privileged and takes full advantage of that. He's like a lazy, self-centered, selfish person who just cares about living the cushy lifestyle. And because of that, his dad, like you alluded to, just sends him away for sucking, and he sends him to like the suckiest place that they know, which is Smeerensburg, this god awful isolated island all the way to the north. It's always frigid and super snowy, and all the people there suck. So it's just like, yeah, just super punishment from his dad. Be like, you got to go to this sucky place and send 6,000 letters or something, and then you can come back, and you have to have this done in a year, or else you'll be cut off from the family, you know, privileges or whatever.
Yeah, and I think this is probably like a animated feature trope where they take a otherwise maybe like mundane or non-fantastical job and make it not that. So, they
Yeah.
work for the Royal Postal Service, and they're basically at a military academy for
Yeah.
postal
Yeah.
men. Everything's very serious. His dad's this, almost like a general, right? And he's got his slack off son here who's just trying to skate through, do nothing, use his connection there to kind of just skate through life. And his goal was to just be like, I'm just gonna suck at being a postman. They're gonna kick me out, send me home, and I can go back to my nice life. And that was, like you said, his father's punishment for that attempt.
Yeah, I do love how like I think it's called the Postal Academy or whatever, like actually.
Mm-hmm.
But like I do, it's like straight up basically like boot camp for the postman. And
Yeah,
they
as
like
if it's
have
the
all
highest honor
yeah.
in the land, right, to work for the Postal Service,
Yeah,
which
it's
isn't
the
a
Royal
terrible
Postal
thing,
Service, bro.
right?
Okay. It's not just the regular postal service. It's the Royal Postal Service.
But it's not a terrible thing. I mean, people should take pride in their work, and postmen should feel that way about their job. I think,
And I mean, at the time this movie takes place, which is not disclosed, but I mean, that's their only form of communication. So
right? Yeah,
that
very
would be a
important.
very important, role to fill. Uh, but yeah. Um, Next, he gets to Smeerensburg, and following the typical Christmas movie trope, Jesper really is all about himself, right? So when he gets there, he still sucks, but he realizes everything else there sucks also. So it's like he's like, "Oh crap, this actually is going to be awful. Like I got to get back home." So he's like he does his rounds of the town there and realizes that nobody sends letters at all. So he's going to be stuck there, right? So long story short, he gets the children of the town to write letters to this Klaus guy, um, who is an older recluse that like lives on the way like tippy top corner of the island, in the middle of the woods, and he has this giant workshop full of toys that have been there for who knows how long, and I'm kind of doing a terrible job of recapping this, so I don't want to like go through blow by blow, but basically Jesper gets the kids to write these letters to this Klaus guy, and Klaus in return delivers them toys. And so Jesper sees this as his ticket out, his golden ticket to getting 6,000 letters mailed through the postal service. So his dad will come and bring him back home. So I guess another question here is, how did you like the representation of Klaus?
I, it was very under presented at the beginning. Like it takes a while for his character to kind of start taking form. They rarely let Jesper do kind of like all of the plot driving, and it's almost like he invents almost the entire story of Christmas here, outside of like the things that Klaus does. Right, he makes toys. He enjoys delivering them to children. But outside of that, it was mostly Jesper here. But I did like the big lumberjack
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
he's just like
kind of
this
falling into.
hulking.
He's kind of depressed, not depressed, but like
Yeah,
he's secluded himself away from everything for a reason.
yeah, but he's just this big, like towering figure. Like, it's it very much the art style and the way that the characters are drawn and stuff, specifically Klaus, is kind of does remind me of Hercules. Like he's just like a huge, like, not the way that you would envision Santa Claus unless you were watching like an anime or something. You know what I mean? Like I feel like even the way that he's first introduced, like he's Jesper, like somehow gets trapped in the workshop, right? And Klaus comes in, but he was just out in the woods just chopping wood or whatever. But so he's got like his big wood chopping axe in hand, and then he's got like this cool vest thing with other like woodworking tools, but they all look like sharp knives and like hunting stuff. So like Klaus kind of looks like a boss, like not like Santa.
Santa's a boss.
Yeah, a different kind of boss though.
Yeah, he is definitely kind of like that silent lumbering woodsman thing going here.
And kind of like you said earlier too, like the reveal and like the way the plot plays out is very much kind of like a slow burn, and like they do such a good job of tying it all together at the very end. Like it's I don't want to like give anything like spoilery away, even though maybe we already have, but the way that they kind of package this whole origin story and creation of this character at the end of the movie is so good. It's one thing that kind of took the movie for me up a notch. But yeah, I guess like you were saying too, they kind of explain the more traditional aspects of Christmas, but we learn in the movie that Christmas actually already exists. Like he says Christmas, and like that it's a thing that happens once a year. But what Jesper and Klaus were doing with the letters and the toys was a daily thing. So that kind of like works itself out towards the end of the movie. They decided to do it once a year, blah, 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 on Christmas, giving birth to, Santa Claus. But
and I mean, I think there's a certain importance to just them doing that daily in the movie because of the dynamic of this town, which is, I thought it was really well done. It's pretty cool. It's seemingly, I mean, it's a very big town, but it has really only two clans in it, which are just in constant feud, and they just thrive in disdain of each other. But it's the delivery of those toys to the kids that starts to turn the town into a nice place, instead of the very crappy place that it is.
Yeah.
And I like how they really kind of showed the chain there, where the children became happy and full of joy and were doing, good deeds, after Jesper kind of tells them the little white lie there about Klaus.
Yeah.
So, but in that, it makes then the adults be nicer, right? Because the children are happy, and then the adults are nicer, and then it kind of really just transforms the town with just that very simple gesture of good deed, doing something nice, like giving a toy.
Yeah. I think with the clans, I thought they set up a really cool thing to like be able to drive the plot of changing behavior and kind of show what an act of kindness, or just simply showing somebody that they're appreciated or thought of, or loved, can actually do to a person, and how it can change a person. Because obviously the town kind of grew into the state because of the hatred between the two clans. So then in turn, it made everybody just kind of like giant D-bags to everyone. And like they do such a good job of showing scenes all the time of everyone fighting, not even like outside of even, when he first gets there and rings the bell and they have the big like cartoony fight in the center of town there. But like every other time he's walking through town, like there's always some sort of fight going on in the background or the foreground or whatever. So they do such a good job of showing that the town is so full of hatred that when Jesper and Klaus are able to instill that joy with the Christmas spirit of, giving to others and what one act of kindness can do to spark another act of kindness. I forget exactly like the phrase that they use in the movie, but that's essentially what it is like, doing something nice for someone will inspire them to do something nice for someone else. And then it's a big chain reaction of showing appreciation and love that will change a person's heart, which at the, core of this movie, that's the message, right?
Right.
That it is possible to change someone's heart by, showing kindness and appreciation and all that stuff. So, down to the brass tacks, like it's a really well done movie. It's a absolutely gorgeous animation style. And it has like a really good message, and it also delivers a really cool origin story of, quite frankly, a character that's had more origin stories than Batman,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of hard to do because Batman's got a lot of origin stories.
Yeah. They said all the key notes of kind of Christmas, and they do it in a kind of very organic, unique way. And it kind of builds on itself very naturally. Even whether it was the story of the naughty list or the flying reindeer, right? How that all kind of just built on itself.
Yeah.
Through just their misadventures of delivering these toys. And ultimately Jesper trying to get to his 6,000 letters so he can get out of town.
Right.
And obviously,
What?
there's the classic twists there, but like those are expected. But
Right.
I think the substance built around this, like you said, very used, backstory that's been told many times, but it's kind of like the substance of how they did it that was really nice here.
Yeah. What did you think about how they kind of explained the origins of the normal Christmas traditions, like bad kids getting lumps of coal or Santa coming through the chimney instead of the front door and the flying reindeer or, the cookies and milk or, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like, what did you think about how they explained all that stuff?
I really liked it. Because like I said, it was very just kind of fitting to the story and organic, because they set it up to where that one kid was a real douche to him early on, right? And then he figures
Yeah.
out he's in his house, so he's like, I'm just gonna set a coal here instead of the present, right? And he was, he was kind of getting back at the kid, but he made the
Right.
decision that this kid's not a nice kid; he shouldn't get a toy.
Yeah,
And
I love
then
when he like goes to the post office. He's like, "Hey, why did Klaus give me coal?" And he's basically,
yeah,
"Cause you're a little turd." Like,
yeah, and he
uh,
stands up to him and gives him this story, and the kid like all of a sudden is like almost like really like,
yeah,
and then takes it seriously.
yeah. He's basically like, the only way Klaus could know is if you ratted on me. And he's like, "No, he can see you." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "He can always see you."
I did think it was going to turn to a musical right then. I thought he was going to break into song and like they were going to do the song, but they didn't, which is
I
fine.
wouldn't, I wouldn't have complained, but I'm kind of
Yeah,
glad they didn't.
yeah, it wasn't a
But
musical.
yeah, I do. I love how like everything, all of those typical Santa tropes were very cleverly explained in a very natural and reasonable way. Like everything, from using the chimneys. Well, and the funny thing is Jesper is the one who delivers all the presents. So like that's hilarious in itself, right? Klaus isn't even doing that. He's just sitting in the sleigh and providing the toys.
Yeah.
But like Jesper has to go through the chimneys because everyone's yards are full of like traps and weapons and like vicious animals to fight the opposing clan, right? So like he can't just walk through the front door because he'll like step in a bear trap or something. So he's got to like sneak into these houses. The cookies thing there was just a cookie on a plate in one of the houses and he ate it. So they're like, oh, Klaus must love cookies. The reindeer one was probably my favorite. It's like, it's literally, they just crashed their little carriage sleigh thing and a kid just happens to be looking out the window.
Yeah, but even how it became a sleigh was great.
Yeah, because the toy sack was too heavy for their little like, oh, and how they got the reindeer instead of just, it was a one horse carriage, but the toys were too heavy for the one horse, so they got the reindeer who happened to live by Klaus's house to pull a bigger sleigh to fit more toys in. Yeah, just everything was very interesting and such like a natural explanation for all of the tropes of Santa. Is very cleverly done, I thought, for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, the way they kind of end the movie also finishes off that need to be like, it was so practical and organic in like, or just practical, that you're like, okay, where is the actual magic, right? Because Santa isn't like this dude that physically goes around and goes down chimneys. Like there is some sort of magic Christmas dust almost to it. And I think the way they kind of did that at the end, not to give anything away there, like helps cap that all off. And everything that happens in the story, like is the foundation for it.
Yeah, for sure. And it was very touching. Like it got me in the feels. No tears were shed, but it was close. I was like, oh, it's good. That's a good one. But even back to the tropes, another thing I just thought of, like the elves in the workshop, like,
yep,
totally just another group of people that were inspired by Jesper and Klaus's act of kindness. They decided to help Jesper and Klaus make more toys. Like literally all of the tropes were covered, and it was great. So good.
Speaking of those, the elves, essentially. So this is actually Scandinavia where it's based on. So like Norway.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because the town name is a misspelling of a real town in just like on an island up there like that.
Oh,
and
really?
And those the people that spoke a different language, that's like a real culture.
Oh, really?
And they dress like that too.
Do you know what it is exactly?
Sami, Northern Sami, North Sami.
Interesting.
Yeah, Northern Norway and Sweden, Finland. And they
Makes
wear
sense.
those bright clothes and they speak a dialect up there.
Makes a lot of sense for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, I was glad that my children stumbled on this movie the other day. Because I don't know if I probably would have ever seen it if it wasn't for them. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, even the cast was interesting. I mean, it has Jason Schwartzman, like we mentioned before, but Klaus is voiced by J.K. Simmons, who was Commissioner Commissioner Gordon in I believe it was Batman vs Superman. But I mean, he's literally been in like a trillion different things. You might recognize him off the top of your head from the Farmers Insurance commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's Klaus. And then Rashida Jones is the voice of Alva, who is the school teacher, and Rashida Jones was most well known for her character Ann Perkins in Parks and Rec. If you ever watch Parks and Rec, we love Parks and Rec, so immediately I was like, Ann Perkins. But yeah, I mean, not only that, but I believe Joan Cusack is the Crumb.
Correct.
Or Ellingbo. I forget which one, but she's like the old lady of one of the clans.
Yeah, that's the Crumb.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, pretty loaded, cast of voice actors right there.
And I like that character a lot. The Queen Crumb or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, she was funny. I loved the, like, giant behemoth
Children.
girl and boy from the opposing clans.
Yeah.
They were pretty good.
And then they never really they doubled down on the kind of like, what is it, a dead body that one group is always kind of moving things around. Like,
yeah, there are a handful of like silly visual like cut scenes or like little like snap to short like 2 or 3 second scenes that are like kind of creepy, like one being the two people constantly moving a dead body around the town.
What appears to be a dead body. It could have been, maybe it's a Christmas tree, I don't know, but it definitely looks like a dead body.
Maybe it's a big fish. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is like a little fishing
schoolhouse
island. Who knows? Definitely more than likely a dead body, but yeah. Cannot be confirmed or denied. But then there's also the little girl who always has the carrot kind of like a knife. It's just like got like huge eyes that are always open. She never blinks, and she's always like sulking off in the background, like very creepily. And,
wasn't there like 4 of them, like a little gang?
Yeah, and then like towards the end when they're building like a snowman in the center of town, she's like stabbing it into the snowman's face.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some dark themes with those clans there. They're a little spooky.
Dude. But yeah, overall, it's a very fun. Well, I mean, I guess it was fun to me, but it might not be super fun for most people because it's not your typical like full of joy, popping from the brim, bright colors, typical Christmas movie. But it has a very deep and heartwarming message, and it's just presented in such a cool way. This even was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. It didn't win, but it did win Best Animated Film in the British Academy Film Awards. And it's rated very, very high on Rotten Tomatoes, 94%. And IMDb gives it an 8.2 out of 10. So it's pretty well regarded by the critics, which is always nice to see.
Google Audience Review gives it 4.9 out of 5.
Nice. That's pretty good. Pretty good. But yeah, I couldn't help but kind of feel like somewhat at home in Smeerensburg, just from like the always cloudy and gray and bitter cold environment as we live in Ohio and we're heading into the winter months, and I'm just like, hey, great, that's literally going to be my environment for the next 3 months. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, and I liked it. And back to like when the kids were like starting to do like the good deeds around town, like that's when you realize how much of that town was just centuries of these clans fighting, because there's just like spears and axes stuck in like the rooftops and all the buildings. I thought that was pretty cool. And then I did enjoy how the neighbors, where there's that fence between their yards and they were 2 different clans and there's that hole in the fence. He builds the play set, knocks down the fence, and they're
Yeah.
kind of like together.
Yeah.
Just
It
cool
was
things
really
like
cool.
that, where they show those reoccurring characters and how they kind of just came together. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool themes in there.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the part explaining the feud.
Yes,
That was such a cool
nice.
thing because like both of their like clan halls are literally like right across the like town from each other. So like it's the scene starts in one and he's tells like a couple sentences and then it like the camera goes literally across the street into the other building and the other clan picks up the next several sentences and then it keeps going back and forth and it literally is a centuries old feud. And yeah, it's just a really cool scene explaining all that.
Did you say who plays Pumpkin?
Who?
The Pumpkin, the one daughter of the other clan, not the.
No.
It's Sergio, the director.
Is it really?
He's credited as Pumpkin.
Nice. That's great. Mine. What?
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald is the voice of Mogans. I don't remember that character, but that's hilarious.
Well, he wasn't the boatman, was he?
That
We
might
didn't
be
really
the
talk about the
guy.
boatman. The boatman was great.
I think it is the boatman. Yeah. He gave me very did you ever see Scrooged? I think we talked about this in our last episode that you have not seen Scrooge, so this is going to fall upon deaf ears. But that boatman reminded me a lot of the taxi driver from Scrooged, if you've ever seen that movie.
No, I haven't.
Obviously, like a more kid-friendly version of the taxi driver, but basically he was just kind of like a tool.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I didn't even know that was Norm Macdonald. That's funny.
Yeah, he
Oh,
had a
he
lot of
was
just like
Sergio is the voice of Olaf, who I'm assuming is the
the other
other
child.
giant. Yeah, that's
Ugh.
hilarious. Oh man, good stuff, man. Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, as far as you know, my recommendation would definitely be to watch this, and it's a good one to watch with your children too. I believe because I think it's just got that great message of how powerful kindness actually is, and what kindness can do to change a hardened heart.
Yeah, and I mean that's the really good thing about this is that it kind of really focuses on that and those values, right? And like kind of the foundation of Christmas. Um, Not so much just like Santa's just bringing presents, but it's more so Santa brings presents because, and really presents should do what? You know what I mean? It kind of answers those questions,
Yeah.
not just explaining like how Santa Claus got started, or like who he is, what he does.
So this movie kind of got me thinking. I was listening to another podcast on Tuesday, and it's called The Scene Snobs. If you haven't heard of those guys, they're really good. They were talking about. They had a really cool question of what like Christmas world would you want to live in? Based off of movies or shows or whatever. And after going through that conversation and then watching this movie and seeing the unique take on Santa and how Klaus was as a character in this movie, it made me wonder, like, who do you think is like the coolest Santa in all of the different Christmas movies that you've seen?
I'd really have to like recomb through a lot that I've seen like far too long ago. That's a good question.
So like
Like
I
the
enjoyed.
coolest.
Go ahead.
Like you mean just like the best portrayal of Santa, or like the coolest backstory?
can mean whatever you want it to mean.
Okay.
For me, like, I really enjoyed this take on Santa and how Klaus was represented as, like, not like a fat old dude who's like definitely eaten way too many cookies and drank way too many glasses of milk in his lifetime. Like, I love how he's like a rugged, like towering, imposing figure who looks like he could, take on the entire village in hand-to-hand combat, if needed. um, and I mean, I know it's very early on in the Santa story in this movie particular with Klaus, but I enjoy how, due to circumstances, like, he is definitely closed off, and probably depressed and probably in self-seclusion, and just kind of like a downer, really, I guess. But like then being able to see how he changes throughout the movie, I think he's a cool Santa, but I think I would have to say, if I was able to choose any Santa out of any of the Christmas movies I've seen to be like my Santa, it'd probably have to be Kurt Russell from the Christmas Chronicles.
I agree with you there.
Dude, he's just such a cool Santa.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely get into that. What is that? Is that our next episode?
Yes, that will be our next episode.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you. Especially after seeing the second one. His MO and his style is just really good. And obviously it's Kurt Russell, but
right. Like, I just love it because he's just like not ashamed, nor is he ever trying to hide it. He is actually more flaunting that he's Santa all the time,
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah. And that Santa he seems like the cool uncle that everyone wishes that they had, that they could just hang out with and do ridiculous things with.
Yeah, and I like his execution of, driving up the Christmas spirit number, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Or Christmas spirit is just literally something that he's able to just jive up out of just disparity. And he enjoys it. No, yeah.
Little song and dance never hurts the Christmas spirit, that's for sure. Also, Kurt Russell's not a terrible singer.
Yeah, that would line up. He's from a seasoned generation of talented people.
Yeah, I mean, is there any other Santa Claus that you can think of that you think would be a cool person to be the Santa Claus?
The Grinch.
The Grinch. Like pre-heart growth or, post-heart growth?
Definitely pre. He's just so much fun. I mean, he's just maniacal, the maniacal Santa Claus coming to just ruin everyone's expectations of Christmas morning. It just seems pleasant to me.
There's a meme that's been floating around for a while that says that the Grinch, never hated Christmas. He just hates people, which is fair. So I don't know. Do you agree with that? Do you think the Grinch actually hated Christmas itself, or just the way people are in general?
He's a manifest
by Christmas.
Yeah, he's a manifestation of people's disdain for other people during that time. For a number of reasons. It's basically, I always took it as like, he doesn't hate Christmas, but he hates how people become during that time. And, the one, I believe it was definitely in the live action one. I think it was more apparent where, everyone was very kind of focused on presents. And, there's kind of like the gaudy ones of the town who are just all for the show and the appearance of Christmas. And those were the ones he hated the most. So I think like the fundamental like Christmas spirit and all that he genuinely enjoyed. It was just the people that ruined it for him is what he didn't like.
Yeah, I think he even says that like in one of his spiels that basically he just hates how everyone gets at Christmas time. Um,
Right. And it's not it's
yeah,
not Christmas, it's the people. I sympathize with that because I don't like it when people ruin my what I see as like Christmas to me. I don't like when we get caught up on the wrong things during this time of the year.
yes, same. Um, I think Tim Allen's Santa Claus would be kind of a cool one too.
I was also thinking that when you're asking that question. I haven't seen those in a while, but definitely him becoming Santa Claus is a good old classic.
Yeah, the Santa Claus. I can't believe I forgot to talk about that on our first, or last week's episode. Christmas movies of childhood past. Um, that one was a good one. I enjoyed that one.
I mean that podcast or the movie?
No, the movie.
Oh, okay.
I hate all of
You
our
hated the
podcasts. Yeah,
Yeah,
our
I
podcast
agree.
sucks. I don't know why anyone listens to it, but the
No
Santa
one
Claus
listens
movie,
to
on the other
them.
hand, well, that's true. Someday, fingers crossed. But no, yeah, the Santa Claus movie with Tim Allen.
Yeah,
I can't believe I
that's
forgot
a
about
90.
it. That was a good one.
That's 90s, right?
That peak
That would have
1994.
Yeah, see that would have fit into your 80s, 90s deep
Yeah,
cuts.
I think it just goes to, it adds to that argument of like, are present day Christmas movies good, or did we hit peak,
Did we
Christmas,
heat Yeah, did we hit the peak Christmas movie?
the 80s 90s era.
I think one thing that the Tim Allen one's a good example is because take the super, non-Christmas person, realistic, mundane life, very practical, but literally magically becomes Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Kind of like the role, because he just magically gets fatter, he just starts craving cookies and milk.
Yeah.
More of a literal interpretation of the magical Santa Claus. So I forget how and why he became Santa Claus.
If memory serves me correctly, I believe basically what happened was Santa was at their house and he like died. He fell off the roof because either Tim Allen's character or his son was trying to like witness Santa coming or whatever, and it like scared Santa, so he fell off their roof and died, and Tim Allen took his place.
Yeah. That's dark. Poor
Yeah,
Santa Claus.
yeah, it really is. I think I forget exactly what was the reason Tim Allen's character took his place. Maybe he like put his jacket on for some reason, and then like because he put Santa's jacket on, and yeah, I think that's what it was. Because the whole like Santa Claus being like the clause on the Santa business card and the jacket saying basically whoever puts this on will replace Santa. This is all just off the top of my head, so I could be completely wrong. But I think that was the whole like shtick to that movie. Good one though. Miss it. Might have to show that one to the kids.
Yeah. And I particularly like Santa Claus oriented movies where they show Santa's village. And another reason why I like the Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell so much, because especially the second one there, I really like that take on Santa's village. But any movies that kind of explore that theme, I always enjoy, and that's the world building thing I like.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to think of cool Christmas, like Santa villages, like the North Pole representations.
I mean, Tim Allen had it. They were all basically what, like teenagers? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
They're kind of like kids to teenagers.
yeah, which is kind
That
of
still
creepy.
believed. Yeah,
Like what
kind of
is
like
the North Pole, like the Peter Pan version of Christmas or something?
yeah, yeah. It's basically Neverland for.
Um, I I liked. Oh man, what movie was I just thinking of? Shoot. Oh no, it'll come back. Do you have any
It's
other
gone.
cool depictions? Oh, I was gonna
Um,
say I kind of like Santa's Village in Elf actually. For some reason, they don't really show it too much, but I loved seeing Will Ferrell as like a normal human with all the other
Yeah,
elves.
yeah, because he's just a giant child,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't. I
It's
can't.
it's Will Ferrell, but more unavoidable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I
That's,
mean, I've definitely been off my Christmas movie game for many years.
yeah, same.
But
Yeah,
maybe
but I
maybe I'll
think
start to research that.
more, you know, of recent memory, I think Christmas Chronicles, Christmas Village probably takes the cake for me, but that might also just be because it's the most recent depiction of Santa's village I've seen, you know. But they also have a cool take on elves, which we'll get. I don't want to talk too much about Christmas Chronicles because we're going to talk about it a lot next week. But yeah, we'll get into that. Their version of elves. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was just generally it was different and it was cool, especially in the second one. The canon thing was just too funny.
Yeah. Good times. So with Klaus, I don't really see. Well, I mean they could, but I don't really see. I see this as like a one-off. Like, no more. This isn't gonna be turned into a series.
You don't think they could? This is like the pre-story to Santa Claus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean they
So
always could, but like I kind of hope that they don't because it was a good one-off movie. You know, we don't need
right.
1,000 sequels. I think. I don't know. I really enjoyed just the setup, right? Because we already know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
just kind of
actually,
leave it at that.
I could probably go with more Klaus movies because they're really. It was a beautiful movie visually, so I wouldn't mind seeing that animation style again. So yeah, maybe I take that back. I'd like to see Jesper in another Christmas adventure, and maybe getting to see what happened at the end of the movie. Go further. I feel like we did a really bad job of not spoiling this, but I don't want to like come out and actually say what happened. But I think
that's
everyone
great.
does.
I think that's a great thing about animated movies, though, is like there's never they're hard to spoil because you're already going to watching them pretty straightforward. You know what I mean? Like what are you gonna spoil in that? Like watching this movie, we all kind of knew what was
It is
gonna
a
happen.
Christmas movie, and there's a character named Klaus. So
Yeah,
what do you think's gonna happen?
the enjoyment's genuinely just watching it and just seeing like it all unfold.
Yeah.
We all know, you know what I mean, so they can't really spoil too much. Be difficult.
Yep. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you have any other Santa or Christmas related items on the Nick docket tonight?
Not tonight, but tomorrow night we're definitely gonna watch. I'm gonna have the wife have her first viewing of the Muppets Christmas Carol. I have this
What?
weird feeling she's seen it, I've had this weird feeling she's seen it. She just doesn't realize it. But we're gonna
How
watch
could you
it.
not see that movie?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's tragic. I'm glad that you are, you know, opening her eyes to probably the greatest Christmas movie of all time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because after that, our podcast, the last episode, we were talking about it, and I admittedly haven't seen Nightmare Before Christmas, but she hasn't seen that, and she hasn't seen A Muppets Christmas Carol. So those are two
Well,
movies we're gonna watch this season.
yeah, you should definitely watch both, but I think as much as I love Nightmare Before Christmas, it doesn't even come close to The Muppets Christmas Carol. I mean,
Right. No, yeah, that movie's so good.
a Christmas Carol story already is awesome, but then you have the Muppets.
The Muppets.
I mean, and Michael Caine.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like
good Michael Caine in the Muppet Land.
the holy trinity of like what makes a great movie.
Is Big Bird in that? He is, isn't he?
No, that's Sesame Street.
No? Oh, yeah, that's right. Damn it.
Wow. Have you seen Muppets Christmas Carol?
Yes.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad. I'm really glad that she's going to experience that. It's like I said last week that even my young children watch that every year. And that movie's like 30 years old or something. When did that come out? Was that a 90s or was that a late 80s?
The Muppets Christmas Carol?
Mm-hmm. 1992.
Oh, good year.
Great year. My brother was born that year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, sirree. You guys have any other fun plans for this weekend or, leading into the Christmas, season holiday? Do you guys do anything fun?
The in-laws have been without power for 4 days now. I think it finally just came back on after the snowstorm, at the beginning of the week. So they're going to come down and visit Saturday. So,
Nice.
But other than that, it's just, low-key, staying at home.
Yeah.
Got some beer.
It's kind of not much to do when the Rona is raging through our state.
Yeah, we're Purple County now.
Yeah, we hit 15% or whatever. So now,
Whatever
not
that
our
means.
county, our state. So now it's like recommended to not travel to Ohio. We have some Christmassy traditions that we won't be able to really do this year, which kind of stinks. But what are you gonna do?
And we got all our decorations up.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Becca's been pestering me to put Christmas lights up on, outside.
Hang those lights.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you're going to be hearing this, not anytime close to when we actually recorded this, which is December 3rd. So, we just turned into December, so the Christmas lights not being up, not like life or death at this moment. But yeah, we usually try to make it to light up downtown in Canton for one of our Christmas activities, which clearly congregating with a giant mass of people, isn't going to be on the docket this year. And then
You mean for people who are your family members? That's also not allowed.
Yeah, true. But then Hartville has a similar thing to light up downtown, where they do Christmas in the Village, they call it. Have you been to either of those?
No, not to either of those. We've done the one in North Kent where they light the tree up, which is pretty low key, because we lived in walking distance.
Oh, that's probably nice.
Yeah, that was a good time. Nothing too crazy. But I think we know about the downtown Canton one, and we've considered going. I don't think we've just ever pulled the trigger there.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat little thing. The last time we went, it was like super cold though and pretty snowy, so it was actually kind of miserable. But hey, whatever.
You're just
Yeah,
a
I
Florida
mean,
boy.
yeah, you're telling me. But oddly enough, I am the winter lover of our family, like our household. Becca hates winter, hates snow, will not go outside at all. And here I am, actually born and raised in, Arizona and then Florida, and now live in Ohio, and I love winter and snow.
Well, yeah, because I gathered that like a couple days ago when I was on her Instagram story because I was trying to find where she was talking about your car sliding into the street. At first, when Aaron told me, I was like, I just like sped through her story because I thought there was like video or something of it. I was so excited, but there
Yeah.
wasn't. And I was like, I didn't see it. She's like, oh, she was just talking about. I'm like, well, that's boring. So I
Yeah.
found it though, and but like she just let off with just down in like the little bit of
Yeah, what the
cold and
heck?
snow we had, and she's like, I just want it to be over. I'm like, she's back.
Yeah.
Got a little
What
Scrooge in your house.
yeah, big one. Don't let her fool you with all the decorations and all of
Decoration,
her
yeah.
Instagram stories.
Mm-hmm.
She actually
Yeah.
hates Christmas, confirmed. Yeah, funny
I'm
story
gonna.
about the car. Like, I actually we have the Ring like doorbell security camera thingy, and records
Yeah.
obviously.
Movement.
Yeah. So I was like looking through the history, seeing if might be able to catch it sliding down the driveway, but it must have not done it fast enough or something for it to like register movement out there.
Slow
But yeah, I
motion.
mean, like we had it wasn't even a bad snowstorm in our area, at least. Maybe like 2 to 3 inches or whatever. But it was slick, and our driveway is not like super steep, but it's definitely a hill. And yeah, I parked the car, went inside. 30 minutes later, a friend that lives down the street, a couple houses down the street from us, texts Becca, and she's like, "Yeah, my husband just told me that your car's in the road. Did you mean to do that?" So yeah, our car just slid down the road because our driveway was snowy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I sent you a picture of an hour north of us at the in-laws.
Oh, yeah, they got a lot more than we did. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a snow belt for you.
Yeah, I kind of, man, we've really like got away from the show part of boys, but that's totally cool. Um, I I kind of wish that we got more snow. Like there's something about snow around Christmas that's like perfect. And then I'm also of the mindset like if it's going to be cold, like at least snow too, so I'm not just miserably cold. Like I like the way snow looks, on the
I think the
trees.
snow makes it warmer. At least
Yeah,
cozier. It mentally
definitely makes
makes
it
you feel
brighter.
better. Yeah. um, no, yeah, because I grew up in the snow belt, and so like down here, it's kind of to me this is the South. For only being an hour south, this might as well be the South compared to the winters up
Right.
there, closer to the lake. But down here they just put that fight up to like keep the roads overly salted and just keep them clear. Whereas at certain points in winter, they just kind of give up in the snow belt, and it's easier to drive on snow-covered roads actually than when they melt them with salt and then they ice over. Just
Yeah,
leave them
I
covered
would
in
believe
snow,
it.
and you actually get good traction.
Yeah, you get the
Though I had,
nice little driving rivets from people driving over it, and
yeah, I just think back in my like '94 Grand Am when I was a teenager. It basically was like a snowmobile, like a road legal snowmobile, like
Nice.
just flying. Like I would go off the road kind of frequently, but just kind of drive back onto it. Um, yeah, too much fun. Too much fun
Yeah.
going to school.
So my car, of course, the logical choice of someone who grew up not living in snowy conditions would own a 2-wheel drive small pickup truck as their car in Ohio
Yeah.
in the snow.
Yep.
So, yeah, I got really good at driving in the snow because my truck sucked and I had it for like 13 years.
Yeah, it's crazy when you go from that to something with like all or 4-wheel drive. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, I'm just
What
like,
if I
dude.
like this it should be like a legal requirement in Ohio. Like you have to have all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Like for the safety of others and your
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, but yeah. The cool thing now about snow too is my kids are like old enough to enjoy playing in it. So even though we only got a little bit of snow, like the last couple days when Peyton gets home from school, she's like, "Can we go outside and make a snowman?" And her and the other one, they just go out there and I'll just fall over in the yard and
making them
flail
snowmen.
around in the snow, and it's so funny. I love it.
They're
It's
always
great.
in oversized suits and they just fall down and roll around.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that we did one year is we went, I believe it's Medina, the Noel Christmas Museum. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Actually kind of relates to our podcast. But I'm pretty sure it's in Medina. I guess I could actually use the Google to figure out exactly. But basically, it's a Christmas museum that is full of. It's called Castle Noel, but it's a museum for props and set pieces and stuff from Christmas movies. And
That's cool.
yeah, it's in Medina, and it's like pretty well known, like even nationally. So I guess I'm not really surprised that you don't know about it because I didn't know about it until we went there. But yeah, there's been like news reports and stuff on it. But basically, it's got the props from all of the super famous Christmas movies. Yeah, we went there one year and we were thinking about trying to go again this year, but don't want to get the Rona.
Good old Rona.
Yeah. Plus, the guy who owns and runs it actually looks like Santa Claus, so that makes it even better. Check it out, castlenoel.com. You're welcome for the plug,
Nice.
guys.
Yeah, no lie. All kinds
Yeah.
of fun things buried around here in the snow.
Yeah, who would have thought? Who would have thought? But yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of
Welcome
guess
to the
wraps it up
podcast
for
called
us
The
here.
Boys.
yeah, where we talk about stuff. Yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our chat about Klaus, and hopefully you guys, if you haven't seen it already, give it a shot. It's actually one of the good ones. It's one of the good ones. Do you have any closing remarks on the movie before we get out of here?
I do not. Good movie. Go see it. Go watch it. Just turn it on Netflix and
Yeah, go to your
it's not
couch.
that hard.
Turn
Hey.
on the TV.
A little bit of news that never mind. It's pointless doing news on this. We're 2 weeks ahead. Boo.
No, let's break it here first. 2 weeks from now.
No, I mean it's already been broken. But HBO Max, aka their parent company Warner Bros., right, and AT&T. Anyways, all the Warner Bros. Movies for 2021 will be going to theaters and HBO Max same day.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know how I feel about that.
I know you're a big movie theater guy.
I am a big movie theater guy.
Yeah, we'll have to circle up on that as it fleshes itself out. But yeah, that's my closing remarks. Thought that was of note.
Definitely.
That's a pretty big
speaking
deal,
of
though.
Christmas related,
Uh-oh.
Wonder Woman 84 will be in theaters on Christmas and on HBO Max on Christmas. So following
And
suit
it's a
to
Christmas
what you
movie,
just
right?
said. I mean, it's released on Christmas, so yeah, it might as well be.
Isn't it Christmas time in the movie though?
I don't think so. Because it was
Damn.
supposed to be coming out like late spring maybe.
Boo.
But that's when all the theaters were kind of shut down.
Boo to the. No, never mind. That won't work. I'm done. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore.
All right. Well, hey,
Well,
thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Showboys. If you stuck with us all the way through, thank you. Please, tell your friends, share our podcast. That's the number one thing that's going to help us grow, is by you sharing our episodes, pointing people in the direction of our social media pages, on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at Showboys Podcast. But yeah, just mainly sharing our episode links and telling your friends. But yeah, you can do that with our Linktree link, linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube if you prefer to listen to our episodes on YouTube. They're all up on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like and follow us where you can. That also helps us out. And yeah, cue the music. Thank you, Cody, for throwing together some research for this movie. You rule. Can't wait till you're back on there with us.
please.
Well, yep, that was an episode.
That was.